That's a special.
Hello and welcome to Pardon the Interception, Season 33, Week 7, with your hosts Lee Wood,
Nick Taylor,
Wood Simon.
Okay, and so this week, let's have a look around what's happening. Let's have a look around the leagues and see what's happening there. So we'll start off as ever with the GFL. And I think the first thing that jumps out here is the Birmingham Pistols were very, very unlucky to miss out on a 100 ball here.
Yeah, that's a big score. But what was our previous record this season? Like 96? Or was it?
Yeah,
less than that?
96, 97, I think.
Yeah. So
The score-
99. Ooh.
The score's as hairy as Gary's back.
The Hulk definitely have 99 problems, but the playoffs are not one.
Oh,
So
Right.
looking at the stats, I'm going to assume that the kick return games were just ridiculous for Birmingham to have nearly 100 points off of less than 200 yards.
I think it's more the kick returns of the Hulk being negative. So they were like starting the ball in the red zone, moving the ball nowhere, punting the ball largely nowhere, 5 yards. So the other team were constantly getting the ball
just going
basically in the
backwards.
red zone.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Okay.
every drive for the Pistols started in the red zone. Even the game kind of balancing engine won't stop that from resulting in scores.
I do love this comment by Clive here. If the Hulk had a point per yard gained, they still would have lost.
Strong comment.
Unless you include penalty yards.
You got to say the Pistols have got to be disappointed with that fourth quarter, though.
That is the mechanics of the game kicking in. But when you get to 96 points at the end of the third quarter, you're like, come on, we're going to make that 100 ball.
Exactly. 15 minutes. 4
Actually,
points.
I haven't actually looked at the last quarter. That's a good point. I didn't actually pick up on. Let's have a quick nosy.
The returner's got to be hard done by with the quarterback getting the MVP award, though.
Yeah, it does seem a little harsh on them.
His kicker missed the attempt to make it 100 ball,
So
Oh, disappoint.
and then he 4 and outed and punted.
too much pressure.
And got 20 penalty yards as well. Pushing them back.
Oh,
Unreal.
It's disgusting stuff.
anyway, let's see how the standards have been shaping up. So, going back to the wild week of week 4.5. Thank you, Nick, for actually going back and listening to what we actually said. So, Nick, you chose the Black Knights and the Bulls for the
Not
bowl.
looking too bad.
Is not looking too bad.
The Bulls, come on.
I went with the Black Knights and the Quake, which, once again, not looking too bad there, but is possibly it's probably a bit of a boring guess. And then Simon went with the Wraiths, who somehow have lost, versus the Steelers, who haven't. So no one's completely flummoxed out yet here.
I think the Bulls were my a bit more of a wild card pick.
You just wanted to support Chris, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then I think they're the number 2 seed. So the number, yeah, they are they're not even the top wildcard seed.
Not yet.
Not yet, correct.
Mind you, the Quake nearly lost this week, I think.
So it looks at the
Saw that
Quake.
correctly.
Yeah, against the Emperors. So how
The Emperors were 1-5.
1 and 6.
Yeah.
Quake got an injury problem or something?
So just an interesting one to see.
I wonder.
I think they're resting some starters that are injured because they felt they could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
Couple of injuries, and I also wonder if there's a rivalry there. Yeah, that plays a huge factor in keeping the game
There's
closer.
no rivalry there. What are you talking about?
Anything else that jumps out from the GFL this week?
Nothing really jumps out. It just looked a fairly standard
I mean, this
week of
jumps.
results, other than the Wraiths losing.
Yeah, this obviously jumps out to me.
I guess they lost to the Gunslingers though. Another good team, and it was quite a close game.
In their division as well, so it opens up this quite
big.
a lot. This AFC West is opened up, and the Pistols. If the Pistols nearly put 100 on the Hulk, well, I hate to see what the Wraiths or the Gunslingers will do.
What are their fixtures like for the rest of the season?
Who, the Hulk?
No, the Wraiths and Gunslingers.
Wraiths and Gunslingers.
So the Wraiths have the Hulk one week.
Ooh.
Which has got to be. This is a win.
Yeah, we can just chalk that up now.
I think the Hulk could just slow ball that first win incentive. Week 9, they've penciled it in.
The Wraiths definitely have an easier out to the season, I think. They've got the Armadillos and the Dragons. So the Dragons 5-2, the Armadillos 5-2, and then the
Not that easy.
Raiders Dreadnoughts.
The Raiders, I think, have to play
3
the
and
Gunslingers,
4.
don't they?
Yeah, so 3 and 4 and 6 1. So they're probably not. They're probably quite.
Pretty
Oh,
close.
and the Birmingham Pistols. So I think just because they've got the Hulk, it's an easier out.
Yeah,
But, I mean, the Slingers should beat the Pistols.
Yeah. I mean, they split the series. The Wraiths looked a lot better in the home game than they did in the away game. So I guess yeah, you've got to side with the Wraiths overall there.
They've got an 80-point lead on the differential as well.
With an extra, who knows how many to come.
With a game against the Hulk to come, because that's going to pad it by at least 40 points.
Yeah.
The question is Gary going to score?
In gridiron,
told you week 9. It's been sandbagging.
I mean both.
I do kind of feel sorry for the Sicilian Dragons. If you just look at their schedule, like with that, trying to get into the playoffs, they've got to play Black Knights followed by the Wraiths.
That's I suggest they try and win this week.
Yeah, sorry, Paul. You're if you win this week, you're going 6 and 4.
Tough end to the season for sure. Key game, the Black Knights though. Never know.
Yeah. Right. Anything else before we move on?
No,
okay.
All good.
On to the Atlantic. So, Simon, what jumps out at you here at the Atlantic?
Beautiful display by old Basing. Nice shutout, Everyone loves to see that, right?
Yeah, always good when your opponents don't manage to score any points.
Although even better is seeing Kendall scoring no points. I know it's not Kendall, that's Lee. Damn it! And that team's confused. It's LJE. No, that's not so exciting.
I mean, it is, but for different reasons.
Yeah, true. Bear, Bath Snow Bears, Brockton Bay Bears. It's like
the thing that jumps out to me here is the.
Bears? Sorry, I just realised that.
Because one is the Snow Bears. The Snow Bears is actually the team name.
I thought the place they're from is Bath Snow.
It's not, unfortunately. That one I do know.
That is Snow Good.
It's like, however, unlike Brighton and Hove Islanders, who are the and Hove Islanders from Brighton.
Yeah, of course.
The thing that jumps out to me is the Stallions losing.
That is a big loss.
It's an away loss, so can't read into it too big, and it's only 3 points, but it shows that they're beatable.
It also shows the Generals might be a bit better than maybe we've been giving them credit for.
I think the Generals always have a decent team. It's just a matter of whether things line up. And obviously at home helps a little bit more.
Yeah, because they have lost to like Kings, Warriors, Rapiers, Stallions. So all 4 of their losses against good teams.
Quite a lot of big games this week, big results this week actually. Brighton beat the Magpies.
Mhm.
Redcoats beat Spitfires. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
Sharks beat Stampede. That's a big
Scorpions
one, isn't it?
beating Sun Devils is nothing to sniff at as well.
I thought you were going to say Scorpions beating anyone. I mean,
Yeah, that surprises all of us.
the Kings did really well against the Stingrays, and they don't have their first team quarterback, if I remember correctly. Blues Sonics won that one, which is big for that division as well. A lot of big games this week, actually.
It's really shaking things up a bit for
So,
playoff.
Yeah, definitely.
If we move over to the standings, so going back to the notes, so Nick, you called the Stingrays and the Rapiers, which not looking terrible on.
It was looking better a few weeks ago, but yeah.
I called the Avalanche and the Rapiers for some reason. Why did I back you, Simon?
I have no fucking clue. I kept telling
because the Woods were going back to back in the bowls because it's too powerful for us to meet in the same bowl.
I see what you mean.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Simon, you chose the Stingrays at the Spitfires.
I don't know why I chose the Spitfires. Losing to the awful Conrad as opposed to the better Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad Autopilot Williams.
Well, what was Greg thinking?
I will say when I watched it back, we did mention the Spartans. If they had a bit of good coaching and developed through the season, they could well be contenders as well. And they beat the Rapiers last week, so Spartans are well up there.
I think I thought the Spitfires had quite a complete team. I think the Redcoats probably shown that they have a slight gap in their defense.
I think that game was like quite swingy on the turnovers as well, if I remember correctly.
Conrad absolutely won the turnover battle,
which had to happen eventually, right?
So Conrad did put quite a few, quite a few more yards than he has been recently on.
Yeah.
Wake up.
That was I mean, it's they've certainly tried over the seasons to beat the Spitfires and not quite got there when the things have gone their way. So this time it sort of has gone their way, and they managed to get the win, which puts Greg back in the pack for the overall lead in the MFC.
Maybe this is just a bit of a bad luck game for the Spitfires, because they didn't absolutely dominate the Redcoats earlier in the season. It's a bit kind of confusing.
Yeah, I mean, the Redcoats always come into this. Last season they started slow and came into it, and they've sort of done the same this season.
He had a bit of a shit schedule as well, because he had to play the Rapiers and the Kings.
Yeah,
as the two of his losses. So he got absolutely destroyed by the Rapiers. So.
Well, I think the Rapiers and Spartans look like the two teams to beat in the NFC, personally.
Yeah, and Brockton Bay are just shit.
They've got the firepower to win a game, but I think those two rebuild teams, the Spartans and Rapiers, are just like, we don't fully know how good they are, but they've both looked very strong this season. I mean, the Spartans beat the Rapiers as well, which we probably weren't expecting. We thought the Spartans might have been a little bit behind the Rapiers, but turns out Spartans have got game. So.
Who was that a home game for?
I don't know. It was last week.
Rapiers at home.
Rapiers at home. Okay, yeah. So that makes it an even bigger statement win.
Yeah.
Anything else for you guys?
Wait, so I'm an idiot. The Rapiers were away.
Okay.
I can't read things properly.
It's the American way of putting it. That's what throws you off, right?
Nick, no, I did it. Yeah.
Top at bottom, not home versus away. Away at home. Yeah.
Because American sports are stupid.
Sports ball.
Right, anything else from the Atlantic before we move on to the Riverton League?
Yeah, the Atlantic was really good this week. I'm hoping good weeks like this.
I agree. Everything's opened up quite nicely for the next couple of weeks, at least. I feel
it's going to be interesting to watch how these standings move around, because like like in the MFC, the second wild card's a bit open. In the CFC, like the fact that you've got two division leaders on 4 and 3 is quite major.
the CFC East and the CFC North are going to be really interesting.
And also, like, other than the CFC South and MFC West, every second place team is a game or less behind. So that can easily change. I mean, that's not to say that the MFC West and CFC South can't change, but
oh no, the MFC West cannot change. I'm far too injured.
fair enough. but yeah, like it's all to play for, really. Certainly the Warriors are in there with the wild card shout. If the Mariners can get their way through the next couple of games, then they're well in there still as well. Because was there 3 teams on 4 and 3 there? So.
Yeah, I think I scrape. If it closed today, I'm out just.
It's close. And you can see the Redcoats comments got on the board there. So what to play for? I mean, even the Nighthawks, they won this. They beat you this week, right?
Yeah.
That's big for them. They're in 3 and 4, which only puts them a game back as well. So
yeah, it's huge. The advantage I've got is I've got an extra divisional win over them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was my team's quite beat up, which does not help. But yeah, right, on to the Big Sky. So, what immediately jumps out here, Simon?
The rivets being the rivets.
The Rivets only winning by 6.
Yeah, but they still win, Maybe nice to see that.
You got a nice massive versus Buccaneers game there, 31-33. That's big for that division, right?
Yeah, it's going to be rather open up the playoff for that division.
The Super Weasels look like they lost by 5 points there, which is tough going for them, I feel, as well. Big win for the Titans, though. As they say, you always remember the Titans.
The Titans
quality film, yeah.
Keep
Giant Hornets lost as well.
I know, Giant Hornets lost.
Ooh, that's a tough loss for them.
But looking at the standing, so we've seen our first clinch here. The Seattle Generals have clinched their division because the second place team are 2 and 5.
Wow, that's that must be none of them have won outside of the division, right? The second to fourth.
Pardon, Nick? I didn't quite understand.
So second to fourth must have not won a single game outside of their division, right?
Yeah, correct.
That's interesting.
Is that the mathematically earliest someone can clinch? I guess you could clinch it last week.
I think mathematically you can't clinch until week 7.
I think
no, you theoretically can. If you go 6-0
and everyone else one win.
Yeah, I think you clinch.
It depends on the schedule, though, right? To some extent.
You need
if everyone in your division goes 1-5 or worse, and you go 6-0, you can clinch.
Yeah, because there'll be you beat everyone else beats everyone else.
Yeah, because if they go, if you get one team at 1-5 and 2 teams at 1-4-1, and you're 6-0, you're guaranteed.
Nice.
Yeah. But looking at the call outs, so I went with the Rivets at the Swarming Giant Hornets, who I'm standing by that.
The top of their division.
Yeah, the Giant Hornets, the threat of the threat of 2020 with the killer murder bees or whatever, they're coming back. Nick, you went with the Bay Packers versus the Sharks.
Yeah, that hasn't gone down so well since we did this.
The Bay Packers are still 6-1.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the Sharks, the Sharks are what, one divisional game and only 9-point differential behind.
Yeah.
And then
it's not big.
Simon went with the Rivets versus the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers have come back strong.
Buccaneers are kind of doing what I thought they would. The man who loves an email is coaching very well.
Mind you, if you look at the LFC, I think we might have brought this up at the time. The LFC still looks really tight, right?
Mm.
There's every team's lost at least 2 games.
What it kind of tells me is the winner's going to come from the PFC this year.
More than likely, yeah. I mean, like, you've got Rivets 2 games ahead. Eagles are 3 games ahead in their division. Like the Titans, Beverly Bay Packers is the close division. But the Titans look really strong. We did sort of mention them, but I think because they're in the same conference as the Rivets, they didn't end up on any of our predictions. LFC looks like a lot of fun to follow for the next couple of weeks.
It's going to be some great games.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting because I mean, the Super Weasels aren't as far behind as it looks.
Yeah, like there's 5 teams on 5 and 2. It's pretty much all to play for beyond that point.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to the season. I think. I think we're going to see probably the Rivets and the Rivets and Eagles clinch next week.
I would have thought so. Or close enough to it.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles have all but clinched.
I mean, like you could see the Titans and Beverly Bay Packers clinch next week as well, depending on results.
They should clinch
playoff.
They should clinch playoff, yes. But you've basically got the Rivets and the Titans probably trying to go 10-0 to take the buys.
Yeah, well, it's definitely in favour of the Rivets at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's their schedule like? I've seen that. Last game of the season. There you go.
Yeah, that's a huge game.
Yeah,
I think we've mentioned this before. We just keep forgetting.
Yeah, more than likely. But
I think we mentioned it last week.
Yeah, that's a game to keep an eye on. That could end the run.
Yeah, that game is huge.
That's the 7 bowls in a row for the Rivets.
That's for 40-0 in the last 4 seasons.
You know the rule when if one team's dominant, they get the thing. It should just be called the Rivet rule. Can we petition for that with R&R?
We can always call it the Whittingham Rivets rule, just to make it impossible for me to pronounce.
The winning comrade.
More successful car.
That's the one. More successful.
I thought it was the better comrade.
Aren't they the same thing?
Yeah. The original comrade?
The original comrade's Comrade Williams, isn't it?
So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, something tells me that Conrad should just get currently drafted 32nd tattooed somewhere on his body.
That should be their team name next season.
Yeah. Drafting 32nd Rivets. I do like the helmet. I'll give Conrad that. That is a strong helmet.
If they
get to 5 very, very phallic things to use, Simon.
I'll say it again. It's a strong helmet.
If they win it another 2 seasons, but they get to keep it, like in real sports, you win it X number of times and you get to keep it.
We get a new Big Sky bowl, new design.
It's not called the Big Sky anymore. It's called the Conrad Whittingham
Memorial.
Only if they win 5 on the bounce. If they win 5 on the bounce, then I think we can petition for it.
Okay, it's only 3 on the bounce so far.
Yeah, I mean we're looking a little bit too far ahead.
3 bowls on the bounce. It's impressive in anything. To be fair.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Depends. 3 Sky Bowls or any of bowl games in this on the bounce, yes, impressive. 3 bowls of cereal on the bounce, I get very, very dirty looks instead.
Yeah, fair. I guess if it was a team of Gary Lyons, maybe it's less impressive.
Yeah, fair.
Him just hulking around.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Anything else in the Big Sky that we want to talk through?
I think we're pretty good on the Big Sky.
On to the Continental. So, Badgers are back to winning. That's always good to see.
Brooklyn Park Bombers got another win.
Good win over the Angels.
Renegades beat the Bullets.
The
Classic.
biggest call out here, Lee, Gary Lyon is winning games. Somehow he's getting points on the board.
Zulu's got another win.
Now I need to remember who Gary's team is in this. It's the West. Okay. For some reason I had Surface in my head, but that's Gary Stevens.
Yeah,
In
a lot of the top
previous
teams,
league.
a lot of top teams just won this week in the Continental.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it?
I think the Trojans lost.
Well, they played the Westies, so that was.
So that was interesting, and it was like I think it was was it Thunderbird Bullets?
Thunderbirds Patriots.
Thunderbirds won quite well.
I was Bullets Renegades, sorry.
Yeah.
Two of the better teams coming to last week. So kind of the Renegades really cementing their place as one of the dominant teams with that win.
Yeah, so looking at the standings, no clinching yet, but several teams close. I don't
Yeah, there's one clinch.
fully. Oh, yes, there is one.
Thunderbirds
I was going to say how the Thunderbirds haven't clinched. I was trying to mathematically work it out in my head.
Yeah. I mean, they clinched, and the Renegades put themselves in a very good position by beating the Bullets.
Yeah. Classics are looking good.
Brooklyn Park Bombers.
Westies 5-2 in third place.
Yeah, tough division.
I mean, currently both the wildcards coming out of that division, right?
Yeah.
So Nick, you called the Thunderbirds at the Bombers.
It's looking good. Finally got one that's looking good.
Fair enough, shit at a fan. Some of it's new.
I chose the Monarchs at the Destruction.
Yeah, you went a bit rogue with this one.
I'm not entirely sure why, but I'm going to stand by it.
I believe your words were, I don't know why, but I'm drawn to the Monarchs and the Destruction.
There you go. Weirder
They're still
things
top of the
happened.
divisions. Still top of the divisions.
Yeah, weirder things have happened. I've made a bowl.
Yeah, that is a strong point.
And then Simon, you went with the Thunderbirds at the Düsseldorf Destruction. I mean Miami Destruction.
Yeah, I only picked the Destruction because I like their name, and they look like they're playing well at the time. But...
They're still top of the division.
Yeah, they are, but I was disappointed by the loss to the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean,
divisional games are weird though.
Well, they are, but they're like kind of 2-2 in that division, which is interesting.
That is pretty interesting. If they lose another divisional game, that blows that wide open.
So yeah, but I'm happy with the Thunderbirds. They do look the pick of the RFC.
Just
Renegades are good as well.
The playoff picture.
Be interesting to follow the Badgers as well. And Guta's injured, so and they're still ticking up wins. So if they keep going, they could be a force to reckon with.
I mean, who needs Anguta when you have Strom?
Badgers.
Anguta recovered a level. He's now only in on the D as well.
There we go. It's again now.
Important newsflash.
Strom. MVP again. Class.
Strom watches back.
Yeah.
Does he have Showman?
Doesn't need Showman.
He just knows.
No, The weird thing with Showman is once you got MVP once, the extra level can make a huge difference.
He's only got MVP 61 times.
Is that it? I guess Anguta's taken a few away from him.
How many games has he played? Like, what's his MVP hit rate?
Pretty high.
Bloody ridiculous.
Where does an appearances appear on here?
Somewhere near the bottom, I think. It might be the very last thing.
He's played 108 games, 108 games as starter and 118.
He's like 55%.
Yeah, over 55%.
That's fucking like basically every time the team wins, Strom gets the MVP.
How old
And
is
if
he
he
now?
doesn't, thank you to them.
Age infinite, age 10.
Oh,
No, 10,
it's
10
nine,
seasons.
age
So
9, right?
I think it's might be age.
6 seasons minus 1, isn't it?
That's what I thought.
There we go. Let's just do it the easy way because my brain's not working at the minute. Strom. Age
Oh,
10.
he's 10. There we go. Manguta's 5. They don't have. Oh, be interesting to see how that team goes forward, though.
I feel like Strom should have like more experience. You know, he's
How much experience does he have?
the full 1.5. He's probably had that for like 6 years.
He had that since he was born.
Yeah.
He is also from MSU. I'm assuming that's Michigan State. I know that's
That's an actual college.
That's actually a
not
college team, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Strom doing Strom things again is looking good.
Bit of a Strom watch interlude there.
Yeah. The Badgers are looking strong.
I like it. I like it. I shall allow it. And then the playoff pitch is pretty much just going confirming what we've spoken about before.
I don't think too much has changed, has it?
I don't think it has, no.
Yeah, most of the top teams won, and then those that didn't win kind of played on other top teams. It's kind of like
Yeah, I think
they're shaking up.
the interesting ones are Zulus because I think if I remember correctly, they look like they had a fairly soft schedule. So it'd be interesting to see how they do in the playoffs. I could be wrong.
Royals, Trojan, Venom.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they beat the Westies, lost heavily to the Trojans. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. Certainly, given their last four seasons have been losing seasons as well. So nice to see them turning it around.
Found the winning formula now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Anything more on the Continental before we move on to the Delta?
Having a quick look at the old injuries, see if anyone doesn't look anyone's particularly horrifically hit. The Park Bombers have 10 injury levels. See where those have fallen. A lot of them were pre-existing. Their returner got a B this week. Nothing too drastic. So they've lost a lot of starters, to be fair.
How that feeling?
And they've got what five current injuries that are from starters.
Oh, but they've got the wins to rest people if they need to. So.
Yeah. And a bit, down on their cornerbacks since the start of the season. 2 injuries at the very beginning.
They've scored a lot of points, if I remember correctly. So
All down the pitch.
Yeah.
They make up for it, right?
Indeed.
So moving on to the Delta, the things that jump out at me here is downtown Dave Brown beating the Patriots. So the Silverbacks beating the Patriots, and also the Enigma living up to their name and getting hammered by the Chaos at home.
I think the big thing there is not that it's the Enigma, it's the Japanese championship playoff there, Tokyo versus Kyoto.
But I think Nick, you asked a couple of weeks ago, what about the Enigma?
Yeah.
The response was, and Jeff jumped in the comments, went, "Yeah, they are an Enigma." And as you can see, you would have not expected them to be beaten this convincingly at home.
No. They've they've answered the question themselves in the last couple of weeks. Big win for the Jets.
A big win for York as well. Actually, I missed this one.
Yeah, the York wins very. There's 2 things: York and the Jolla game.
The Warriors took them close.
This game's always close.
Wow.
Yeah, these 2 people game plan against each other very hard.
Yeah, but Jonathan has a completely different team every season because he just traded in his old team and out the whole team. Aaron really has to kind of World
but
Cup
Aaron-
stuff's
But
going on.
Aaron's already game planned against every single other team in the league, so we just need to go right. Who's he traded his offense in from, and who's he traded his defense in from, and just take those.
But Jonathan trades with everybody, therefore,
True.
you
Some
know,
Blazers losing is pretty big, right? Fury haven't done too much this season.
Some Blazers losing. Yes, the Fury have not particularly done well this year.
I missed that.
I missed that as well, actually.
Yeah, 'cause some Blazers were looking really, really strong, and then suddenly the 1-5 Fury kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's have a look at the
Ipswich
standings.
lost as well, but
It makes this division very open, to be honest.
Just
Dave,
weird.
Dave Brown could actually make it.
Come
he
on
could go
down,
downtown. Are you saying Dave Brown can go downtown?
He
Yes.
can. I would love to see Dave win the division because his team has never done it, and I do like the way his team plays.
And also, I used to, many moons ago, caretaker the Silverbacks as well.
Even
I
better.
remember those days.
So if he does, I'm going to take 100% credit for it, even though none of the players I drafted is still at the team.
The problem he's got is that the flopperheads are his next week opponent.
They're 5-2. It's easy.
I mean, Dave's going to pass the ball. He just needs to score more points than Kendall. That's how it works.
True.
La Jolla haven't locked up the division yet, which I thought that win would have mathematically locked them, but it hasn't. They can still technically be caught.
Well,
The,
Warriors were already that close, weren't they? So
interesting. The Cougars dismantling of the Robber Barons is quite interesting.
Cougars are big.
Yeah,
Cougars are doing it this year.
I mean, we all know the Robber Barons have your second favourite quarterback in the league.
Indeed. But on a kind of more serious note with that one, kind of Eric always has ridiculously good secondary. He seems to really love having good safeties and good cornerbacks, which always makes it tough for me to play against him. And I've lost in the playoffs to him more times than I can count, because his defense, his defensive kind of slant always kind of means he's good against me. But with the way Glenn's team set up as a kind of 20-40-40 quarterback, or as Glenn likes to tell me, one of those is 5 out, but it's close to fucking enough. As far as I'm concerned, Glenn's quarterback's playing at kind of 66% of his level in both mid zone and deep zone, or short zone, deep zone. At which point, if someone's got an okay secondary, you're going to struggle to dominate them in the air. You might still get some yards, but it's just, that really finds the hole in people's teams. But if people don't have a proper hole, you are not really going to do that well. I think that's the problem Robert Barons have, because they don't have that running game. They are relying on the team, their opposition having a defensive hole, rather than kind of just powering through.
Is this the first league we've looked at today that hasn't got a single shutout?
Yes, it is.
Copheads were close.
Copheads were close. Right, going to our predictions, looking at the standings. Nick, you chose the Cougars at the Patriots.
Patriots have lost 2 since then.
I went with the Lone Stars at the Katanas because I'm boring. Actually,
That is
that's not the
boring.
reason, because I'm a realist.
And boring.
And Simon went with the Cougars at the Katanas, which I think is the potential other one.
Up the Cougs!
The Hoff for the bowl.
Don't hassle the Hoff. I should hate the Hoff, but I like the Hoff still, even though he always beats me.
It's because he does it with dignity and grace, something that Kendall could learn.
As could I, but that's by the by.
Yeah, but you're not going to change, Simon. I've known you for your entire life.
And you think Kendall will as well? Come on.
I haven't known Kendall for as long, but I assume he's not going to.
He's worse than me.
Yeah, it's shaping up.
Shaping up for Katanas versus Lone Stars for
It
Cougars.
is, yeah. Yeah, the VFC South is shaping up not quite how I expected it to. I expected the Rogues to be closer to me.
That's what happens when you beat them. You get further away.
I was going to say,
from
how could they be much fucking closer? The one win behind you.
I expected them to only be 1 division game behind me
Okay.
rather than 2 division games behind me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I think I think I expected to split the series with them. So,
they have got 2 guaranteed wins in probably the Massacre and the Enlightenment.
yes. Who have I got to finish the
They've
season out with?
They've got to play the Katanas, so that's going to be a struggle. So I imagine they're probably going to end on 6-4.
Yeah, I've got the flopperheads in week 10, which may or may not be a gain, depending on if Kendall can actually get any further playoff position. But it's against me, so Kendall's going to go full out anyway.
But by my calculations, like, you've got to win one of your games against the Mariners and the Titans, and you're going to beat the Titans. Therefore, you're kind of playoff bound.
Yeah. I think I'm destined to 4th seed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're going to be 4th seed. Unless like Downtown Dave Brown kind of clinches the division, or the Patriots do.
Yeah, I play against the Mariners, I play against the Titans, and then I probably don't bother to play against the Copperheads because I'm probably playing for nothing.
Almost certainly. The VFC East and the VFC North are going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
How does the Patriots, Silverbacks, Sunblazers schedule sort of look? That's a little difficult to look at, but
the Sunblazers play the Centurions, followed by the Patriots.
Copperheads, Fury, Mariners. So
that's all right.
Winnable, possibly winnable.
Not winnable.
Patriots, Sunblazers, Katanas.
They have to win that Sunblazers game, right? Patriots.
Yeah.
They might get lucky with that Katanas game, meaning nothing to the Katanas.
I mean, yeah, Katanas are 2 games ahead, right?
Yeah, because they're likely to win. They're likely to be 9-0 going into that.
Yeah,
maybe they'll play for the 10-0 because everyone loves the 10-0. I don't think Lee's done it before.
The problem is, I think
just better off resting though, right?
Of course you are, but everyone loves having a 10-0 season, right?
Yeah, he's never 10-0'd. But I think
even I had a 10-0 season.
I think he's got a number of week 10 losses though on purpose.
Probably.
I mean, going into playoff
with those injuries, you're gonna rest.
And I think like you want to be fully rested for the potential of the other side of the draw, like that bowl game. You just want your maximum chance of having everyone fit.
Yeah, if you've got home field advantage through the playoffs and it's locked in, you really just want to rest, and you also don't want to risk injury to anyone as well. That's the bigger key.
It's not, it's getting some XP into those other players is not a zero. It is a bonus having that week to put some XP into some new players.
York could upset the Sunblazers this week. York are a bit of a. We knew that they were on the up, but I think that their rebuild has come together faster than anyone expected.
Big loss to the Copperheads.
What's really weird is how they lost to the Copperheads and how they beat the Colts. Kind of thrown everything really confusing.
Well, they split with the Colts, haven't they? They've lost 1-1-1.
Yeah, but the Colts beat the Copperheads.
It's a really tight division.
And they are just confused. They seem to all be beating each other, and it's like,
that's how they all end up on 4-3 and 5.
Are they all as good as each other? Or are they all as shit as each other?
I think
they're all as good as each other, to be honest.
I think that's the thing. Is like you can see the Katanas were well ahead of the other teams in the conference. But each division feels like fairly strong within itself, right? I mean that VFC North, any of them could beat any other team.
VFC South has 2 competitive teams and 2 non-competitive teams at the minute.
The East and the North. I mean,
yes, they are 3. They're 3-team leagues at the minute.
Well, even the Fury won this week.
The VFC North up until this season was a 4-team league. But Phil is in a rebuild, so he knew he wasn't going to do well, but he didn't mortgage everything, so he was going to pick up a couple of wins along the way.
The interesting development this week is when the Chaos beat the Enigma, they're probably sewn up first win advantage, first win incentive.
Yeah, and
it's interesting.
I mean, Geneva, Corey came into a team that had possibly been neglected for a bit. So he's a new coach in this year.
Neglected for about 10 seasons, wasn't it? Like,
I was being polite.
say it how it is. Like, it's fair enough, I think. You know, if people, I don't know if they didn't know what they were doing or kind of absent, but it did seem a bit like that. And, you know, maybe life got in the way. Who knows?
And Corey's an old school Delta coach as well. For those that remember Delta Force, that was Kendall and Corey back in the day.
I think Corey won like 17 bowls. Am I getting confused with someone else?
I don't think he won. Was he at the Plague before? He was. Yeah, he was the Robert Barron's coach.
Yeah, and then the Robber Barons won lots during that period, didn't they?
Yeah, back when the Robber Barons didn't know what passing was. They only won 2 bowls, but they won a lot of the division.
I bet they had a proper quarterback as well back then.
No, they ran it.
Yeah, but they still had a proper quarterback on the team. He just didn't bother throwing it.
Possible.
A proper quarterback, as in he hands off to the running back very well.
No, as in he has a S or T of 60. I'll accept the 55.
There you go, 25, 40, 35. It's the extra five quick Simon. It stops him being sacked as much.
Oh,
Just remember, 5th best all-time pass record.
Indeed.
Not to be sniffed at.
So you want to look at the best all-time passing performance?
Was that Wang?
No, it was one of my quarterbacks. I don't know which.
Right, 6 brags.
Humble brags. Anything else for the Delta before we move on?
I'd one question. Is it the Hammer Sharks? How good are they? Do they have a chance at all?
Good question.
But the answer is probably because you rule out Michael at your own peril. Even though Simon will claim he has a habit of keeping people on the bench.
He does have a habit of that.
I know they've only conceded 94 points this season. But I don't know what their schedule's like, obviously. But
that might be lost on Nick. I played him in the playoffs a few seasons ago, and he had a really big running back and just left him on the bench for the game and then lost to me.
Interesting.
And I had no run defense. I had absolutely no run defense.
It would be the equivalent of the Snowbears leaving Schmertz on the bench back in the day.
Okay.
It was quite fun.
How close is that Katana's game? Like, I mean, I know it's 11 points, but stats-wise, is that?
Good question. Hammer Sharks dominated in yards, so Hammer Sharks might be the sleeper.
Interesting.
It might be the one we're not looking at, but maybe we should have been.
6 turnovers. That's that's rough. Yeah, they're an interesting one.
Nearly beat. They probably should have beat a 7-0 team.
Yeah,
I mean, they lost to Robert Barron, so maybe their secondary is not great, but probably okay. They probably have a slight holder.
Yeah,
probably find out from looking at that game. Did they get it on short passing or long passing? All the yards went to Casey. Which one's Casey?
Yeah, their stats stood out as like pretty reasonable. They've got good defensive record.
I think me and Simon are guilty of seeing the Hammer Sharks make the playoffs and then get knocked out, so we kind of forget about them.
Yeah, the Hammer Sharks kind of seem they might be a bit weak to the deep pass.
The problem is they play against La Jolla or Hoff. I don't see them beating either of those teams. I don't see them beating the Cougars or the Lone Stars.
I can see them beating the Cougars.
Okay.
I can't see them beating the Lone. It depends. I think Aaron's run defense might be quite as strong as it has been in the past. He hasn't really played anyone who's got a massive run attack, I don't think. I remember the only person he struggled against is Worley. Actually, I think Worley have an okay running game this year. Next week, you'll find out a lot about that because it's Majola Corpus Christi.
Ooh, big game.
Big game.
Number one.
7-0s. It's battle for number 1 seed, yeah, exactly. Which, because I think Lone's got Chaos and then Zeppelin, so that should be okay. How about Cougars? They got another challenging game? No, not really. So that game is going to decide it probably.
Okay,
Interesting.
and then on to the Empire. Load the scores and load the standings. Nick, what jumps out at you about the Empire this week?
Good question. I haven't really looked through the scores this week.
What?
I know.
Your favourite
Just in
league?
general. Well, the big one was Jacksonville High Hunters losing. That was the big one. Gamblers lost again. And they were looking pretty good when we did our review. Jaguars are looking back on track. Thundering Herd got a close win. In general, like most of the teams that have been doing well have won this week. Russians getting a big win there as well.
It's interesting that you read this game as a gambler's loss, and I read it as a Romford Rough Rangers return to form.
Yeah, it could be that as well. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too much about last season potentially. Gamblers were in the playoff picture last season, weren't they?
Yes.
Romford. Did Mark take over this season of the Romford Rough Rangers? They've certainly done well this season.
Rough.
The Triple R's
Pointed season 33. Yep, he took over this season. R cubed.
pirate team.
I think it disappointed me this week was seeing the Wawatonga Wogs lose to the Kings. I thought that'd be a bit closer.
Kings have been
They've been pretty good.
since that 1 week where they looked like maybe they weren't quite as good. They've pulled out some big wins. 35-13
on the road as well.
Yeah.
It really surprised me.
So looking at the standings, so going back to the mystical spreadsheet of predictions, Nick, you went with the Hunters and the Storm.
Had to go with Jacksonville High Hunters, like Postman Pat, man.
Hey, back Mike.
And the Storm are looking good still.
I went with the Red Bulls and the Rough Rangers.
The Red Bulls are looking good as well. They've quietly gone about their business, just winning every week, as a 7-0 record shows.
And the Rough Rangers look like they're likely to make the playoffs.
It's looking good for them, yeah. Solid defense there by the looks of that.
And then Simon, you went with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I fancy. I'm less high on the Jaguars now, especially after they lost the Hessel.
At the Storm.
Yeah, but Storm. Yeah, I like the Storm.
Yeah,
you only like the Storm because it's one juxtaposition away from Strom.
Close. Yeah.
I like the look of the Storm this season. As far as I can remember, they haven't really been close in any games. They've won them all pretty convincingly.
I think the thing that confuses me most about the Storm is I remember when Theo first joined the game, and he's not about 4 foot tall anymore.
Yeah,
it's always confusing. People grow up.
I know that PFC side of things. Like the Kings having that loss against them puts that doubt in your mind as to whether the Kings will be as good as they normally are in the playoffs.
Who was that loss against? It wasn't even a division team.
Thundering Herd, Mr. Wood.
Thundering Herd. Cool.
Only the second best of teams. I say second best. I don't know why I didn't pick the Thundering Herd in the bowl. Don't know what I was thinking.
Hello. What are you doing? The Thundering Herd have lost to the High Hunters. And so it's all a bit, this team loses to that team loses to this.
Yeah, I mean the
game of rock, paper, scissors.
Well, the big thing is the Red Bulls and the Storm have just been very consistently winning. Their offense looks good. Their defense looks good. Just good all around. I mean, the Bedgebrook Bounty don't look too bad as well. They've been trucking along there.
And the Patriots look pretty good as well.
I think there's It's coming down to that point in the season where we realise that there's a lot of teams in the Empire that could win the bowls.
Oh yes,
much like last season. I mean,
I've got a feeling that next week I'm going to need like the the game's up for next week, and then we're going to have to get the old whiteboard out to work out which teams can move where depending on the results.
Oh, I love that. That's my favourite bit of the season. By a long way.
Yeah, and next week should be really good. 8 games in should really show us who's where. Like the Russians getting that win is really interesting in the BFC West, because the Russians are a game behind, but they're ahead on the divisional record. The Lions on top there.
Yeah, that's huge. That divisional win could be huge.
Yeah. Thundering Herd have pretty much locked up their division. And beyond that, well, yeah, there's a lot to play for. Certainly in the BFC, it looks pretty open. In the PFC, maybe a little bit less open, just because of the records further down. But the wildcard slots are, you got 2, 5, and 2 teams there, but only 1, 4, and 3 behind them. If I can see that correctly.
Yep. Right. Has anybody got any closing marks? Oh, Simon's managed to find the whiteboarding tools that I haven't turned off yet.
Oh, drawing a nice rocket.
I'm pretty certain that is just a New Orleans Saints badge.
Fleur de lis.
It's meant to be SpaceX.
Ah, dear.
The line of scrimmage with an I-form offense against it.
A picture of Kendall.
Right. Does anybody have any closing words?
Good luck. Have fun. Hope you win. Unless you're playing me.
Okay, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.